Our focus needs to be on how we ensure our fate is not determined by others, how we ensure our decisions are our own. And if there were any doubt, Russia's illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine renders stark our interest in living in a region where no country dominates and no country is dominated. It's true that Australia has always needed to apply ourselves with this focus, but it is especially true right now because our region faces unprecedented circumstances. And these circumstances require a response of unprecedented coordination and ambition in our statecraft. Tensions have risen between states with overlapping claims in the South China Sea. Compounding that have been the militarisation of disputed features and dangerous encounters in the air and at sea. China continues to modernise its military at a pace and scale not seen in the world for nearly a century, with little transparency or assurance about its strategic intent. In August last year, 5 Chinese ballistic missiles were reported to have fallen in Japan's exclusive economic zone, and just last week, we saw China practice strikes and blockades around Taiwan. On top of that, North Korea continues to destabilise with its ongoing nuclear weapons program and ballistic missile launches, threatening our friends in Japan and the Republic of Korea, as well as the broader region. Altogether, this combination of factors and the risk of miscalculation will comprise the most confronting circumstances in decades. So this is why I am so steadfast in refusing to engage in speculation about regional flashpoints, whether the Himalayas, Taiwan, the Korean Peninsula, or anywhere else. In particular, there is much frenzied discussion in political and media circles over timelines and scenarios when it comes to Taiwan. Anyone in positions like mine who feels an urge to add to that discussion should resist the temptation. It is the most dangerous of parlour games. And my approach to this is not simply a politician seeking to avoid hypothetical questions. It's a frank and clear-eyed assessment of our interests. We do not want to see any unilateral change to the status quo. We call for the peaceful resolution of cross-strait issues through dialogue without the threat or use of force or coercion. Because let me be absolutely clear, a war over Taiwan would be catastrophic for all. We know that there would be no real winners, and we know maintaining the status quo is comprehensively superior to any alternative. It will be challenging, requiring both reassurance and deterrence. But this is the proposition most capable of averting conflict and enabling the region to live in peace and prosperity. So I'll say it now at the National Press Club, to avoid any possible misunderstanding. Our job is to lower the heat on any potential conflict while increasing pressure on others to do the same. And the Albanese government does that here at home, and we do that in our diplomacy. That may not sell as many newspapers today, but it will help you to sell them for a lot longer. In our China relationship specifically, we will be calm and consistent and continue to do as we have since coming to office, cooperate where we can, disagree where we must, manage our differences wisely, and above all, engage in and vigorously pursue our own national interest. We start with the reality that China is going to continue to keep being China. Part of that is the reality of the world's second largest economy, representing some 18% of global GDP. And China's growth story has played a crucial role in alleviating poverty for its own people, the region and the world. Its dramatic economic growth has been a driver of Australian prosperity. And even with increased diversification, China will remain Australia's largest trading partner for the foreseeable future and a valued source of foreign investment where it meets our national interests. Beyond that, President Xi has made clear China's goal of being a great modern socialist country that leads the world in terms of composite national strength and international influence by the middle of the century. Like any country, China will deploy this strength and utilise this influence to advance its national interests. We know at times these interests will differ from our interests and from others in the region. Importantly, China understands national interest as being advanced by favourable outcomes by reducing the possibility of unfavourable outcomes and by reducing the space for disagreement or dissent. And this understanding is coordinated through its persistent statecraft. A great power like China uses every tool at its disposal to maximise its own resilience and influence, its domestic industry policy, its massive international investment in infrastructure, diplomacy and military capability, access to its markets. This statecraft illustrates the challenge for middle powers like us and our partners in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Yet we need not waste energy with shock or outrage at China seeking to maximise its advantage. Instead, we have to channel our energy in pressing for our own advantage. We deploy our own statecraft towards shaping a region that is open, stable and prosperous, a predictable region operating by agreed rules, standards and laws where no country dominates and no country is dominated, a region where sovereignty is respected and all countries benefit from a strategic equilibrium, a region that safeguards our capacity to disagree, a region that preserves our agency, a region that protects our ability to decide our own destiny. See, when we talk about our interests, this is what we mean. But of course, this kind of region doesn't simply exist organically. It demands our national effort, especially as some seek to rewrite the rules. And that effort cannot be left to one or another arm of the Australian government. Our diplomats can't do it alone, nor can our military. And what we do in the world needs to reinforce and be reinforced by who we are and what we do at home. It takes all investment in all elements of our national power, a more diversified economy, making more things here, responding to climate change, making Australia a renewable energy superpower, strengthening trust in our institutions through the National Anti-Corruption Commission, facing our cyber security needs, investments in education and training, strengthening the services people rely on, growth in wages. All of these are part of making us, Australia, more robust and more resistant to external shocks. Our economic security, our domestic resilience as a multicultural democracy and our international engagement combine as statecraft. And we are deploying, as a government, all of these elements of national power to make Australia more stable, confident and secure at home and more influential in the world.